think we're on, it's almost time. You can all, if you're following along in your book, page 311. We're starting a new day. And it's the instruction to Vaishnavas and Brahmos. I think everyone knows what a Vaishnava is, a worshiper of Vishnu, usually Krishna or Rama. And the Brahmos were the new dispensation who did not believe in God with form, no images. So Ramakrishna alternated between, he had close devotees, close friends who were Brahmos, and he had very close friends who were Vaishnavites. In this chapter is, he's alternating visiting them, so we get what the instructions he gives to the people who worship God with form and those that worship God without form. So we will start on November 26th, 1883. It was the day of the annual festival of the Sinduriyapati Brahmo Samaj. The ceremony was to be performed in Mani Malak's house. The worship hall was beautifully decorated with flowers and wreaths and evergreens, and many devotees were assembled, eagerly awaiting the worship. Their enthusiasm had been greatly heightened by the news that Sri Ramakrishna was going to grace the occasion with his presence. Keshav, Vijay, Shivanath, and other leaders of the Brahmo Samaj held him in high respect. His God-intoxicated state of mind, his intense love of spiritual life, his burning faith, his intimate communion with God, and his respect for women, whom he regarded as veritable manifestations of the Divine Mother, together with the unsullied purity of his character, his complete renunciation of worldly talk, his love and respect for all the religious faiths, and his eagerness to meet devotees of all creeds, attracted the members of the Brahmo Samaj to him. Devotees came that day from far-off places to join the festival, for it would give them a chance to get a glimpse of the Master and listen to his inspiring talk. Sri Ramakrishna, let's see, I think there's a couple people that are not muted. Sri Ramakrishna arrived at the house before the worship began and became engaged in conversation with Vijay Krishna Goswami and other devotees. The lamps were lighted and the divine service was about to begin. The master asked if Shivanath would come to the festival. A Brahmo devotee said that he had other important things to do and was not coming. Master, I feel very happy when I see Shivanath. He always seems to be absorbed in the bliss of bhakti. Further, a man who is respected by so many surely possesses some divine power. But he has one great defect. He doesn't keep his word. Once he said to me that he would come to Dakshineshwar, but he neither came nor sent me word. This was not good. It is said that truthfulness alone constitutes the spiritual discipline of the Kali Yuga. If a man clings tenaciously to truth, he ultimately realizes God. Without this regard for truth, one gradually loses everything. This is pretty important. So often we say things that in joking or in, off the cuff that aren't necessarily true. We should watch that. If by chance I say that I will go to the pine grove, I must go there even if there's no further need for it, lest I lose my attachment to truth. After my vision of the Divine Mother, I prayed to her, taking a flower in my hands. Mother, here is thy knowledge, and here is thy ignorance. Take them both and give me only pure love. Here is thy holiness, and here is thy unholiness. Take them both, Mother, and give me pure love. Here is thy good, and here is thy evil. Take them both, Mother, and give me pure love. Here is thy righteousness, and here is thy unrighteousness. Take them both, Mother, and give me pure love. I mentioned all these, but I could not say, Mother, here is thy truth, and here is thy falsehood. Take them both. I gave up everything at her feet, but I could not bring myself to give up truth. Soon the service began according to the rules of the Brahmo Samaj. The preacher was seated on the dais, and after the opening prayer, he recited holy texts of the Vedas, and was joined by the congregation in the invocation to the Supreme Brahman. They chanted in chorus, Brahman is truth, knowledge, and infinity. It shines as bliss and immortality. Brahman is peace, blessedness, the one without a second. It is pure and unstained by sin. The minds of the devotees were stilled, and they closed their eyes in meditation. The master went into deep samadhi. He sat there transfixed and speechless. After some time, he opened his eyes, looked around, and suddenly stood up with the words, Brahma, Brahma, on his lips. Soon the devotional music began, accompanied by drums and cymbals. In a state of divine fervor, the master began to dance with the devotees. Vijay and the other Brahmos danced around him. The guests and the devotees were enchanted. Many of them drank the sweet bliss of God's name and forgot the world. The happiness of the material world appeared bitter to them, at least for the time being. After the kirtan, all sat around the master, eager to hear his words. Master, it is difficult to lead the life of a householder in a spirit of detachment. Once Pratap said to me, he was a celebrated leader of the Brahmo Samaj. Once Pratap said to me, Sir, we follow the example of King Janaka. He led the life of a householder in a detached spirit. We shall follow him. I said to him, can one be like King Janaka by merely wishing it? How many austerities he practiced in order to acquire divine knowledge. He practiced the most intense form of asceticism for many years and only then returned to the life of the world. Is there then no hope for householders? Certainly there is. They must practice spiritual discipline in solitude for some days. Thus they will acquire knowledge and devotion. Then it will not hurt them to lead the life of the world. But you must practice discipline in solitude. Keep yourself entirely away from your family. You must not allow your wife, son, daughter, mother, father, sister, brother, friends, or other relatives near you. While thus practicing discipline in solitude, you should think, I have no one else in the world. God is my all. You must also pray to him with tears in your eyes for knowledge and devotion. If you ask me how long you should live in solitude away from your family, I should say that it would be good for you if you could spend even one day in such a manner. 3 days at a time are still better. One may live in solitude for 12 days, a month, 3 months, or a year, according to one's convenience and ability. One hasn't much to fear if one leads the life of a householder after attaining knowledge and devotion. If you break a jackfruit after rubbing your hands with oil, then its sticky milk will not smear your hands. While playing the game of hide and seek, you are safe if you but once touch the granny. Be turned into gold by touching the philosopher's stone. After that, you may remain buried underground 1,000 years. When you are taken out, you will still be gold. The mind is like milk. If you keep the mind in the world, which is like water, then the milk and the water will get mixed. That is why people keep milk in a quiet place and let it set to curd, and then churn butter from it. Likewise, through spiritual discipline, practiced in solitude, churn the butter of knowledge and devotion from the milk of the mind. Then the butter can easily be kept in the water of the world. It will not get mixed with the world. The mind will float detached on the water of the world. Vijay had just returned from Gaya, where he had spent a long time in solitude and holy company. He had put on the ochre robe of a monk and was in an exalted state of mind, always indrawn. He was sitting before the master with his head bent down, as if absorbed in some deep thought. Casting his benign glance on Vijay, the master said, "Vijay, have you found your room? Let me tell you a parable. Once 2 holy men, in the course of their wanderings, entered a city. One of them, with wondering eyes and mouth agape, was looking at the marketplace, the stalls, and the buildings when he met his companion. The latter said, 'You seem to be filled with wonder at the city. Where's your baggage?' He replied, 'First of all, I found a room. I put my things in it, locked the door, and felt totally relieved. Now I am going about the city, enjoying all the fun. So I'm asking you, Vijay, if you have found your room.' To M and the others, 'You see, the spring in Vijay's heart has been covered all these days. Now it is open.' To Vijay, 'Well, Shivanath is always in trouble and turmoil. He has to write for magazines and perform many other duties. Worldly duties bring much worry and anxiety along with them. It is narrated in the Bhagavata that the Avadhuta had 24 gurus. One of them was a kite. In a certain place, the fishermen were catching fish. A kite swooped down and snatched a fish. At the sight of the fish, about 1,000 crows chased the kite and made a great noise with their cawing. Whichever way the kite flew with the fish, the crows followed it. The kite flew to the south, and the crows followed it there. The kite flew to the north, and still the crows followed it after it. The kite went east and west, but with the same result. As the kite began to fly about in confusion, lo, the fish dropped from its mouth. The crows at once sat on the branch let the kite alone and flew after the fish. Thus relieved of its worries, the kite sat on the branch of a tree and thought, 'That wretched fish was at the root of all my troubles. I have now got rid of it, and therefore I am at peace.' The Avadhuta learnt this lesson from the kite, that as long as a man has that fish, that is, worldly desires, he must perform actions and consequently suffer from worry, anxiety, and restlessness. No sooner does he renounce these desires than his activities fall away, and he enjoys peace of soul. But work without any selfish motive is good. It does not create any worry. But it is very difficult to be totally unselfish. We may think that our work is selfless. But selfishness comes unknown to us from no one knows where. But if a man has already undergone great spiritual discipline, then as a result of it, he may be able to do work without any selfish motive. After the vision of God, a man can easily do unselfish work. In most cases, action drops away after the attainment of God. Only a few, like Narada, work to bring light to mankind. The Avadhuta accepted a bee as another teacher. Bees accumulate their honey by days of hard work, but they cannot enjoy their honey, for a man soon breaks the comb and takes it away. The Avadhuta learnt this lesson from the bees, that one should not lay things up. Sadhus should depend 100% on God. They must not gather for the morrow. But this does not apply to the householder. He must bring up his family. Therefore, it is necessary for him to provide. Birds and monks do not hoard. Yet birds also hoard after their chicks are hatched. They collect food in their beaks for their little ones. Let me tell you one thing, Vijay. Don't trust a sadhu if he keeps bag and baggage with him and a bundle of clothes with many knots. I have seen such sadhus under the banyan tree in the Panchavati. Two or three of them were seated there. One was picking over lentils, some were sewing their clothes, and all were gossiping about a feast they had enjoyed in a rich man's house. They said among themselves, that rich man spent 100,000 rupees on the feast and fed the sadhus sumptuously with cakes, sweets, and many other delicious things. Everyone laughs. Vijay. It is true, sir. I have seen such sadhus at Goya. They are called the Jotawala sadhus of Goya. Master to Vijay. When love of God is awakened, work drops away of itself. If God makes some men work, let them work. It is now time for you to give up everything. Renounce all and say, O mind, may you and I alone behold the Mother, letting no one else intrude. Saying this, Sri Ramakrishna began to sing in his soul-enthralling voice. Cherish my precious Mother Shyama tenderly within, O mind. May you and I alone behold her, letting no one else intrude. O mind, in solitude enjoy her, keeping the passions all outside. Take but the tongue, that now and then, now and again, it may cry out, O Mother, Mother. Suffer no breath of base desire to enter and approach us there, but bid true knowledge stand on guard, alert, and watchful evermore. The Master said to Vijay, surrender yourself completely to God and set aside all such things as fear and shame. Give up such feelings as, what will people think of me if I dance in the ecstasy of God's holy name? The saying, one cannot have the vision of God as long as one has these three, shame, hatred, and fear, is very true. Shame, hatred, fear, caste, pride, secretiveness, and the like are so many bonds. Man is free when he is liberated from all these. When bound by ties, one is Jiva, and when free from ties, one is Shiva. Prema, ecstatic love of God, is a rare thing. First of all, First of all, one acquires bhakti. Bhakti is single-minded devotion to God, like the devotion a wife feels for her husband. It's very difficult to have unalloyed devotion to God. Through such devotion, one's mind and soul merge in Him. Then comes bhava, intense love, Through bhava, a man becomes speechless. His nerve currents are stilled. Kumbhaka comes by itself. Kumbhaka is suspension of breath. It is like the case of a man whose breath and speech stop when he fires a gun. But prema, ecstatic love, is an extremely rare thing. Chaitanya had that love. When one has prema, one forgets all outer things. One forgets the world. One even forgets one's own body, which is so dear to a man. The master began to sing, "Oh, when will dawn the blessed day when tears of joy will flow from my eyes as I repeat Lord Hari's name? Oh, when will dawn that blessed day when all my craving for the world will vanish straight away from my heart, and with the thrill of his holy name all of my hair will stand on end. Oh, when will dawn that blessed day?" So the talk of divine things was proceeding when some invited Brahmo devotees entered the room. There were among them a few pundits and high government officials. Sri Ramakrishna had said that bhava stills the nerve currents of the devotee. He continued, when Arjuna was about to shoot the target, the eye of a fish, his eyes were fixed on the eye of the fish and on nothing else. He didn't even notice any part of the fish except the eye. In such a state, the breath stops and one experiences kumbhaka. Another characteristic of God vision is that a great spiritual current rushes up along the spine and goes towards the brain. If then the devotee goes into samadhi, he sees God. Looking at the Brahmo devotees, who had just arrived, the master said, "Mere pundits, devoid of divine love, talk incoherently." Pandit Samadhyaya once said in the course of his sermon, "God is dry. Make him sweet by your love and devotion." Imagine to describe God as dry, whom the Vedas declare is the essence of bliss. It makes one feel that the pundit didn't know what God really is. That was why his words were so incoherent. A man once said, "There are many horses in my uncle's cowshed." From that, one could know that the man had no horses at all. No one keeps a horse in a cowshed. Some people pride themselves on their riches and power, their wealth, honor, and social position. But these are only transitory. Nothing will remain with you in death. There is a song that runs, "Remember this, O mind, nobody is your own. Vain is your wandering in this world. Trapped in the subtle snare of Maya as you are, do not forget the mother's name. Only a day or two men honor you on earth as Lord and Master. All too soon that form, so honored now, must needs be cast away, when death, the Master, seizes you. Even your beloved wife, for whom while yet you live, you fret yourself almost to death, will not go with you then. She too will say farewell and shun your corpse as an evil thing." One must not be proud of one's money. If you say that you are rich, then one can remind you that there are richer men than you and others richer still, and so on. At dusk, the glowworm comes out and thinks that it lights up the world, but its pride is crushed when the stars appear in the sky. The stars feel that they give light to the earth, but when the moon rises, the stars fade in shame. The moon feels that the world smiles at its light, and that it lights the earth. Then the eastern horizon becomes red and the sun rises. The moon fades, and after a while is seen no longer. If wealthy people would think that way, they would get rid of their pride of wealth. Manilal had provided a sumptuous feast in celebration of the festival. He entertained the master and the other guests with great love and attention. It was late at night when they returned to their homes. And that's the end of that chapter. Are there any questions about what we've read or any comments? I shall see if anyone has anything. No comments, no questions, okay. It's actually a good reminder to think about those qualities that made the Brahmo Samaj and the Vaishnavites attracted to Ramakrishna. I mean, high spiritual states, intense love of the spiritual life, his respect for women whom he looked upon as veritable manifestations of the Divine Mother. This was one of the things that the Brahmo Samaj was very much in favor of, was women's education and women taking a part in society. His unsullied purity of character, no one could find anything to find fault with, no matter how much they watched him. And complete renunciation of worldly talk. His love and respect for all religious faiths. I remember reading once that everyone who met him thought that he belonged to their faith. That he was so in tune with it, and his eagerness to meet devotees of all creeds. And those were the things that made people flock to him when they in Calcutta at that time. So, okay, no comments. Good to see you, Sarah.
I actually had just a picky question.
Okay.
He came out of Samadhi and he was saying Brahma rather than Brahman. I mean, Brahma is different than
Yes,
Brahman.
it
Or
is.
was it just...
But I think in other places, when he would go into Samadhi, he would say half a word.
Okay.
Like, I know he gave the example of saying Kali, Kali, and sometimes it came out Ka. Because I think that he wasn't quite connected back with the world.
Okay.
Yeah. That would be my interpretation.
Isn't that the Sanskrit word, though?
Brahma is a Sanskrit word, yes. Brahma is one of the three main gods of the Hindu trilogy. Brahma is creation, Vishnu is preservation, and Shiva is destruction. But you destroy to create. Because it's a cycle. It goes cyclical. The creation, Maya goes in cycles. Creation goes in cycles. So, it's good to see you too, Elizabeth. Okay. Now, tomorrow we'll have Swami Maidananda, and his topic will be pray without ceasing. So I think he's only spoken up here maybe twice before. Once, okay. I thought I might have missed one of his talks when I was not here. But if you would, I know I was here for one talk. Okay. So pray without ceasing tomorrow at 11. We'll have the Wednesday afternoon, how a shepherd boy became a saint. I think we have about probably 2 to 3 more Wednesdays on that one. Then we'll do Swami Premananda. And the gospel reading, the gospel reading will be next Saturday at 5 o'clock. Okay. And our Karma Yoga Day was quite a success, I wanted to tell everyone. We had some new people that showed up today, and they got one whole section that was a little neglected in the garden, looking much, much better. So we'll have another Karma Yoga Day next month. We will accept all help that we can get. Okay. We'll end with a chant. Om Shanti, 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 Hari Om Tat Sat, Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. And we'll see you when we see you.